A very warm welcome back to today's action-packed recap video, taking a look at the latest industry developments. Today, I'll be looking at the upcoming Airbus A321XLR, some pretty massive news surrounding Lufthansa, and further developments around an upcoming airline merger. And let's begin there. Korean Air has rejected claims from the US DOJ that it would look to return slots to local operators if it approved an upcoming merger, basically as regulations around approving it. As part of consolidation within the Asian aviation sector, Korean Air has been progressing with a merger alongside Asiana Airlines. It wants to integrate it fully into its business. Over the recent years, the airlines have received approval from several leading regulators worldwide. However, the US is an area where it lacks approval. To facilitate such a colossal merger, regulators really had to take a look at the two airlines and what they wanted to make happen, and if they believed it was necessary, request several changes to be implemented, and that was most notably the air freight market when considering the EU's comments. Ultimately, these requests to amend the merger conditions are made with the sole intent of ensuring that the terms are fair for existing competitor airlines and consumers, essentially hoping they won't fall further behind or consumers won't be priced out of flying. Once the relevant changes are made, the regulator's approval will often arrive. But see, while I talk about the EU and what they've handed down and now we've seen amended, in the United States, Korean Air is still seeking approval, and there have been visible concerns surrounding slots, a pretty important aspect of flying. Reports did suggest that the DOJ would look to return slots on Western US routes to airlines such as American. This would be a condition for allowing the merger between Korean Air and Asiana Airlines to go through. However, Korean Air has openly rejected these claims, stating that the DOJ never suggested that such a slot transfer on routes between Korea and the United States would occur. The South Korean-based airline, for some backgrounder, serves several leading markets in the US, whether this is Chicago O'Hare, Dallas-Fort Worth, Los Angeles International, and New York JFK, just to name a few. Competition authorities are assessing the business and future outlook to understand the impact and whether the operating environment would remain competitive if the changes, that is, the merger, were to be approved. Korean Air believes that the changes that were enforced by the EU regarding the cargo division of Asiana Airlines have actually only increased competition across all fronts, as more and more airlines look to expand their global reach and cater to demand they're witnessing. The expectation at this point is that by the final quarter of this calendar year, Korean Air should hear back from the DOJ in the US regarding a firm decision. This decision will be crucial in either allowing the merger to go ahead or the company will face new roadblocks in their attempts to come together. On to the next story, and moving over to Europe. Airbus is continuing to inch closer to the release of its latest single-aisle narrowbody, the A321XLR, with the completion of a new assembly line. The European plane maker celebrated the assembly line at an event in Hamburg. The line will act as a pivotal location for assembling key aircraft parts long into the future, and of course aiding prospective future production increases that are planned within the manufacturer. Elements such as the fuel tank installation and fuselage will occur at this FAL for an aircraft type that, while uncertified, is immensely popular, and I'll get on to just why in a moment. But see, Hall 246 may ring a bell. It was the location where Airbus A380s had previously been assembled. Now, with the world's largest passenger plane unfortunately no longer being produced, Airbus knew it needed to better use the space to meet its current needs, and that comes in the form of the popular single-aisle family of plane. About 30 seconds ago, I discussed how popular this aircraft is. Airbus has stated the XLR already has 26 customers with more than 500 orders, and Iberia of Spain is the first customer. This comes after Aer Lingus, a fellow IAG partner airline, ceded its spot. The first delivery to Iberia is expected to occur in the third quarter, around September, and this follows several delays in obtaining certification and eventually getting the plane delivered. Remember, the XLR was initially slated to enter service in 2023, but the delays that I speak of come in the form of the additional fuel tanks and associated fire risks, the concerns related to this, and the impact on the structural integrity during, say, prospective but highly unlikely belly landings. Thanks to the enhanced capabilities, notably in the form of its range, the XLR has really become a favourite for many airlines' long-term fleet plans. This is all despite the aircraft being technically unproven, having not embarked on a scheduled passenger flight. While a single aisle and narrow body, it'll be able to fly up to 8,700 kilometers and connect markets that were not previously within reach for many operators using a single aisle jet. And that's why it's become so talked about and so favored. As we see widespread adoption, pressures are going to ease on airlines' fleets, which will open up new possibilities across their network. Continuing with a theme of consolidation within our aviation industry and sticking within Europe, Lufthansa Group has successfully obtained formal approval from the EU to integrate ITA Airways into its business after lengthy talks. The worst kept secret that really just needed formal approval will see a stake valued at 41% and some USD 350 million that has now gained antitrust approval after much deliberation. Lufthansa Group had long, like I said, explored acquiring ITA to enhance its airline portfolio and gain a firmer grip on Italy. When you look at it historically, this is a country where the group hasn't held as large of a presence as maybe it would have ideally liked, and struggled. Now, with greater access to Rome being a hub for ITA, there are so many new opportunities to serve markets, whether it is down south or even towards Latin America, while utilizing the hub as an important gateway for Lufthansa mainline passengers and other companies within the group. Furthermore, the addition of ITA within the Lufthansa Group is expected to help the company continue its market growth. We know there is considerable amounts of competition from other groups, whether that's IAG or Air France-KLM, who are also looking towards consolidation to advance. While regulators will often scrutinize consolidation, airline groups and the associated parties have always long gone on about its benefits and pushed for its broader implementation. Ultimately, we do see some consolidations rejected because of the fear of impact to customers and competitors, but if the case is strong enough, most will go through. ITA joining Lufthansa Group is a huge moment for the newly launched Italian airline, which we know to have emerged as basically a direct replacement for the now collapsed Alitalia. There have been concerns about ITA's long-term viability, especially in the form of finances, but analysts argue that with Lufthansa Group taking it under its wing, it's a bit more well-positioned for the future. And while that stake I speak of is valued at 41% and therefore not a major one, executives at Lufthansa Group have stated their intent to increase it over time and make it a majority. But to move forward with a full takeover, Lufthansa has been clear. It needs to observe the progression of ITA Airways in the coming years, and a lot of focus will be placed on the aforementioned finances before it looks to take a majority stake, because there are still risks involved. The ITA brand will be retained and it will become the fifth network airline within the group. That is going to conclude today's pretty action-packed aviation news recap. If you have any thoughts, you're more than welcome to drop them down below in the comments. Thank you very much for your support here on the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you same place, same time tomorrow for no doubt another lengthy recap with a lot happening as we move into the Farnborough Air Show.